Welcome to lesson 15 of a C++ programming language. In this video, we will study one of the branching and decision statements, if else. What is the plan? First, we'll look at basic syntax. Then we will see these three bullets. They mean if without else. So first if with nothing to execute, then if with one statement to execute, then if with multiple statements to execute, then nested if else, and simple working program. First of all, the basic syntax. This is the complete syntax. So other statements followed by other statements, and here is if, then expression. Here you can write anything which evaluates to a numerical value. It can be true false kind of thing, or it can be logical statement, it can be bitwise expressions and numerical expression. If it evaluates to 0, then only it will be treated as false. Otherwise, it will be treated as true. So if this expression evaluates to true, these statements would be executed. Otherwise, these statements will be executed. Okay. Now here it is not essential to use pair of braces. This pair of braces makes the body of if block, and this pair makes the body of else block. Now on the right hand side, a small example. If x equal to 5, if the value of x is equal to 5, then it will print this, assign this, then if terminates here, and followed by, so this else block will not be executed. And remember, if and else are keywords. It means they cannot be used for any other purpose except they have been defined for. Now if without else, if with nothing to execute, though such kind of a statement has no use, but still it is legal. If expression and then semicolon. It means if condition is true, this expression evaluates to true, it has nothing to execute, and then it executes the following statements. In any case, if it is false, then also it will continue to execute following statements. Example here, if x is equal to 5, nothing to execute. Simple. Then if with one statement, so here if expression evaluates to true, the following statement, single statement would be executed. Otherwise, the following statement will be executed. Now remember, let me first take the example. Here other statements, then if x equal to 5, there is some statement, it executes, then if block terminates, and it continues to execute the other statement which follow. Here we can put the single statement within a pair of braces. Absolutely no problem. Absolutely no problem. So within pair of braces, you can write single statement or multiple statements. But in case, if in the body of if or else block for that matter, if they are more than one, then it is essential to put all of them within a pair of braces. Now if with multiple statements, if expression, then this is the body of if, and here you can have statements, and these statements can be any kind of legal statement. Even it can have if else. Here example, if x equal to 5, if this condition is true, depending on the value of x, this body of if block would be executed, these three statements. Otherwise, the following statements immediately. Now nested if else. So here if expression, so it may have single statement or multiple statements, then else, and inside else block you can have if. Inside this if we can have another if else. In else we can have if else. Inside else we can have if else. Inside this else we can have if else. So inside if, wherever we have written a statement, it can be if else. one point to note, that every else has to be associated with corresponding if, but if not necessarily require an else block. So remember, every else has to match with unique if. And there is no, practically there is no limit how deep you can go with if else or nested if else. But it is advisable that after a depth of 2 or 3, we should resort to some other construct like switch case. Because after too many if else statements, one embedded inside the other, after 2, 3, or 4, we ourselves lose track of logic of our own program. So it is advisable that you rewrite your code in such a way that depth of if else is not more than 2 or 3. Here is an example, and as body of if and else I have written single statement. So if x equal to 5, it will print equal. If x is not 5, then it will enter else block which has one if. So if x is less than 5, it prints smaller. If it is not true, then else block which other again has if, which is x greater than 5. If it is true, then it will print greater. So depending on the value of x, any one of these three words equal, smaller, or greater would be printed. Okay, so now you can see here is a depth of if, then else, then inside this we have if, and inside that else we have if. So depth of 3. So I have made a small working program in C++. Let us see what does it do. On the left hand pane, we have the code, and on the right hand side, I have written the source code. Let me execute it. Now here, this header file iomanip is for set precision. Okay, this header file we need. This is a standard line namespace std, so that we are not supposed to write every time std scope resolution operator, etc. int main int x. Now remember, here it is not essential that I have to write logical statement. It is simply an assignment statement. So whatever is on the left hand side, this is the variable. It has to be a variable. 5 gets assigned to this. Its associativity is right to left. So value of x becomes 5, and since x is not 0, this will be treated as true, and it will print the value of x as 5, which is visible here. Next statement, if minus 1, it is an expression. So this also evaluates to true because minus 1 is not 0, obviously. So this statement would be executed. So it says this will always execute. So this would be printed. This will always execute. You can see here. So this part would never execute because this is true permanently. Now next one is the example of if a block having no statement to execute, x equal to 5. Whether this condition is true or false, it has nothing to execute. Okay, so no output. Now this one, if else x%2 equal to 0. So here we know that value of x is 5. So this value is not 0. So this is false. So else block would be executed and output would be odd. Now you can see here, this is odd. Now here is an example of a nested if else. So let me scroll it a bit so that you can see the complete code here. Now, okay. Now here I have declared one variable of type float, that is CGPA. It says enter CGPA, and it is expecting us to enter value of CGPA from 0 up to and including 10. And it is expecting that after 2 places of decimal or after decimal point, we need the value of CGPA to be entered. So even if you enter more than 2 digits, it will round it off accordingly. So here it is waiting for me to type in some value. Okay. Now this, in one of the previous videos we discussed this. It treats all the floating point numbers into fixed notation, And set precision, here it says after decimal point I need only 2 digits. Okay, so here it is waiting for me, and if I type suppose some value 5.456, 3 digits. If I say this, you can say, so here I type some value which is not less than 5, so this if block will not be executed. Then it enters the else block. Then it again checks if CGPA is equal to 5, no. So this if block will also be skipped. It will enter this else block. So from here it does not execute, so it enters else. Then inside else, this if does not get executed, so it enters this else. And inside this else, we have if CGPA greater than 5.0, which is true. So it says your CGPA is value of CGPA followed by the message prompt congratulations. So it has printed this. Now one more interesting aspect of a C++ programming language. In case of cout, why did I write like this? I split this into more than one line. Though the statement is of single line, okay, because here is this statement terminator semicolon. So had I printed this in a single line, the letters would have gone on the right hand side beyond this screen, right side corner, so they were not visible. So instead of writing like that, I have written this in more than one lines. So simply press enter here after the CGPA and insertion operator and continue. Okay, here also I have seen written, you can see here split into 2 lines, here also split into 2 lines, not the statements. So it is single statement, single cout. Insertion operators, you can write them one after the other, absolutely no problem. Okay, so the value of 5.456, it has been rounded off to 2 places after decimal point, which becomes 5.46. Okay, so this was the working program. What next? In the next video we'll study the other branching and decision statements, which is known as switch case, which solves the problem of 2 deep if else block, nested blocks. Okay, that is all in this video. Thanks for watching.